Fragments of Silicon, an excellent source for accessories.
Welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Daylight interviews. Joining us this week is, I'm sorry, did you want to be addressed as Mina or Monica?
You can address me as Mina.
Okay. We've got Mina from Megacat Studios joining us. Let's see. Right. So we have actually featured Megacat Studios on this program before. Granted, that was a couple years ago, and that was with different people, one of which I believe was involved in the setting up of this particular interview. So since you're new to our show and our audience, we're going to start out by getting to know you. And we do this by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Okay, so I mean, I not to date myself, but when I was growing up was the time of video games coming out, NES, that kind of thing. So it was just automatically drawn to it, storytelling, just the ability to immerse yourself into something different. So even as a small child, I've been gaming. And work-wise, it was just to me, it felt like a natural leap. I was doing creative writing before marketing. And when I got the chance to meet the folks from Megacat Studios, actually off of Reddit, once they gave me the chance to jump into the company, I couldn't say no.
Oh, I mean, that's a nice turn of events. Have you worked elsewhere in the industry prior to Megacat Studios?
So actually, Megacat Studios is my first big gaming job. I did do some scripts for a couple different YouTube channels that did video game reviews. Nobody major. So yeah, I would consider this my first gaming industry job.
Yeah, I'd say so. Plus, that other thing is radically different than what you're doing right now.
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, you're not the first. I suppose, for lack of a better term, games media personality turned, games industry employee. That is to say, you're working on the business side of things now. Anyway, so with that in mind, how long have you been at Megacat Studios?
Ooh, so I think we're coming up on my third year. This is my second year as marketing director. I originally was a freelance writer for them.
Mm-hmm. And what does your position entail exactly?
A little bit of everything. So when it comes to marketing, I'm in charge of, creating social posts, putting together press release, connecting with influencers like you guys, jumping on Twitch streams and podcasts, that kind of thing. As well as going to conventions. It's basically a catch-all position where I get to do a little bit of everything except developing the games themselves. Thankfully, that is not my skill set.
Yeah, I think Megacat is not necessarily big enough, but compartmentalized enough to have those functionalities. We have a lot of people on this program who wear the whole suite of hats, so to speak. It's like they're the developer, the marketer, the writer, even occasionally the musician sometimes. So.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And I really look up to those folks that are like a one-stop shop. One of the things that's really great at Megacat Studios is that when we team up and collaborate with smaller partners, it's really great that we're able to give these folks a hand. But it's honestly just so inspiring to see these people wear all hats at once and still manage to pull off an amazing game.
No doubt. I mean, sometimes it doesn't always make it in terms of like the marketing, but that's more there are a lot of games out there these days, and it can be hard to get noticed. Like, and now let's see. I suppose we should get into the games themselves because games and other, because we do have a product here that isn't necessarily a game, but it's game related. And I suppose that is perhaps a good enough segue to get into that. And that is Rarity, which is not necessarily like a YouTube documentary, but it's a documentary that has YouTube personalities in it, if I understand this correctly.
Yep.
And the premise of this documentary is focusing on the retro gaming collecting scene. I suppose my first question in regards to this is, when was this recorded?
So this actually came out in 2021. It was directed by Edward Payson. Edward Payson is awesome. Shout out to Edward. So it was started streaming last year. I believe it was recorded between 2020, 2021. So the filming was actually going on during the COVID pandemic. And so we've teamed up with an Anti-Hero Productions to come out with a limited physical edition of the Blu-ray. There's very limited stock available at the time. And we are also currently running a contest so that folks, if they submit their pictures of their video game collections, they'll be entered to win a signed copy of the Blu-ray.
Okay. So yeah, quite a lot to unpack there. But I suppose in terms like the Blu-ray contest, how many people can win prizes, all that sort of stuff?
Okay, so there's one top prize winner. It'll be running until the 1st of July. You can enter via our Gleam link or via social or email as well. And it's honestly, it's open to anyone. You do not have to have a gigantic billion-dollar retro game collection. It is going to be a random draw at the end of it, but everyone will get to have their collections featured on the Megacat Studios social accounts.
Yeah. Are there like places other than the grand prize? Like, is it a second, third place kind of deal?
Just the grand prize.
Okay. Anyway, getting back to the documentary itself. So, I suppose the next question there is, who's featured in this? Any personalities that people might be familiar with?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So right off the bat, I'm going to have to mention James Rolfe and Metal Jesus. They are some of the biggest guys that were in the video, in the movie. We also had John Riggs, John Hancock, Bobby Mackay, just to name a few.
Okay. That does sound like a pretty stacked roster, especially having the AVGN and especially Metal Jesus. Like he's definitely more a name I think of in terms of video game collecting than James, just because James kind of, he does retro games, but he does a sketch show basically.
Mm-hmm.
MJR is more focused on the actual games collecting. And I suppose that is another question. What kind of focus is this documentary taking in terms of Rarity? Like, is it a guide to retro gaming? Like, is it to help people start their own collections?
So what I would say is that Rarity, it takes an honest look at the retro video game collecting hobby or industry, and it looks at the good, the bad, and the ugly. It looks into the motivations of why people do it, the expansive range of collectors. I mean, there are some collections that are worth like 6 figures and above, and it also, it also talks about some of the difficulties that some of these folks encounter just with their partners, having enough space. So it really does just take a look at what makes up this niche and what drives these people.
Like, there are some perspectives there that you definitely don't see in let's say the YouTube videos. Like, not so much like the difficulties of space and especially like the partner thing. Anyway, but you bring up the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I do have to wonder if this is addressed in the documentary, and that's the current overvaluation that's going on in the retro scene. I suppose I might have to dig a bit deeper for the audience here. They may not have been hearing what's going on in the retro scene, but basically a lot of games are going for a lot of money right now. A shocking amount of money. A amount of money that's leading a lot of people to suspect that a lot of these things are being overinflated, speculator markets and all that stuff. And I'm wondering if that's all covered in this documentary here.
So I definitely do think that it's very lightly touched upon, but it's not the main focus of the documentary. What is interesting to note is that Edward Payson and his team have already begun shooting the sequel to this documentary. So it's possible that it's something that's going to be dug into deeper on the second go around.
Okay. And in terms of retro collecting, is there a particular system focus? Like, do people go in on like console games, computer games, handhelds? Is it all sorts of games?
It's all sorts of games. Now we've got there is one influencer featured who only collects consoles. Then we have people like James Rolfe, who not only has consoles and games, but he also has movies. Some folks like to focus on solely the NES or the SNES. Me particularly, I like to collect consoles and old cartridges. I'm not a big fan of collecting modern games, but it really there's something for everyone, and there's no correct way or right or wrong way to be a collector. You choose what your collection is.
This is why I collect Steam games, because they're easy to store.
Definitely.
But anyway, and that is another thing that does need to be addressed in terms of the retro collecting scene, because not all systems are created equal, or rather, some systems were more popular than others. Do people go into detail of how easy or hard it is to collect for, like, say, the Genesis or the NES versus, if you're trying to get into, say, the Jaguar, the Neo Geo, so on and so forth?
So it's definitely touched on lightly as well. And it just really all depends, like, one of the great things about video game collecting is that sourcing the items for your collection tends to be pretty fun if you're doing yard sales, that kind of thing. But it can get pretty heated up if you're on eBay trying to bid on things of that nature. For me, I find that some of the harder things that you're gonna track down are gonna be those not as popular limited run things. But it's that rarity, that scarceness that makes it such a great piece to add to your ever growing room of cartridges and video games.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about the limited run sets, but that is actually a fairly complex and nuanced discussion beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. Anyway, so getting to the Blu-ray package, what special features can one find in this?
So for the Blu-ray, you are going to not only be getting the DVD itself, but you're also going to be getting a retro style, quote unquote, manual that has behind the scenes images and interviews with the cast. I also believe that a poster is included. Let me just double check real quick so I can tell everybody exactly what comes in this package.
Okay.
So you get the there's a collector's NES retail box. You have an 11x17 poster. It comes in a CD jewel case, and the NES style instruction manual has making a release commemorator and behind the scenes information.
Okay. And what's the print run?
So at the moment, I believe that there are only 16 copies left. That is also including the signed copy that Edward Payson is currently selling on eBay. This does not include the signed copy that will be given away to winners.
Okay. And do you anticipate a second print run in the future?
It is a possibility. It's not set in stone right now. And of course, if you don't manage to grab the physical copy of Rarity, you can find it streaming on Amazon Prime, Plex, and Tubi.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it, except for the price. Rarity, the Blu-ray edition is currently going for $49, not including shipping. How much is the digital version going if you can purchase that anywhere?
The digital version, I mean, it all depends on you. On Tubi, it's free. I believe on Amazon Prime, if you're a Prime member, you can rent it. I believe it's either $2.99 or 99 cents. So you have a variety of different options on how you can watch this. And we will be having a screening later this month with Edward Payson and a special guest that was featured in the movie on the Megacat Studios Discord.
Okay. Though I was more talking about like digital own to buy to own. Is that going to be?
I believe that is available. I do not have information on the pricing right now. It honestly depends on which platform you're going to be getting it at, but I believe it's $2.99 on Amazon.
Okay, fair enough. So with that out of the way, we can shift over to the actual games. And I think we'll start with Wrestle Quest. So for the uninitiated, what is Wrestle Quest?
Wrestle Quest is the top game you need a wish list this year. Wrestle Quest is a wrestling JRPG featuring some killer wrestling legends. It's being made in partnership with Skybound Games. And we have just a plethora of amazing wrestlers that are joining us in for this game. So you're basically going to take the role of Muchacho Man and kind of explore the wrestling world.
Muchacho Man, like, though I see the names like Randy Savage, Jake Roberts, and Andre the Giant. Are those wrestlers actually going to be featured into this, or are they just inspirations?
So we do have them featured in. Some of them will have quests associated with them as well. Some will be just NPCs or background statues. And we have a whole host more. We've got folks like Ultimo Dragon, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is actually very closely involved with us. We were with him at PAX East and did a panel on the history of wrestling and video games. So it's a jam-packed cast of folks that you will get to interact with and play with within the game.
Hopefully his new job position won't interfere. And let me see here. So yeah, this is a wrestling JRPG. How does that work exactly?
Very carefully. So basically, you are going to be going around and creating your career as a wrestler. It's got some like awesome innovative features, like a hype meter that represents the crowd, gives you some extra bonuses. You can get your support team together, which includes valets and managers. They don't participate in the combat, but they assist in recruiting. There's like dramatic moments and pivotal events, drama that adds extra challenges to the boss fights, that kind of thing. And not to mention the pre-match promo. So you get to have a walk-on editor, which you can edit how your character walks down the ramp, including music, costumes, all that jazz.
Okay, that does sound very elaborate. What about tag teams and stables? Are they included here?
So there is some tag team matches. There are about 4 different types of matches, and tag team is one of them. I don't want to give too much away. I'd love for you guys to play the demos and find out for yourselves. But it's honestly super, super fun, and there's a whole host of achievements that you can, snag while playing this game as well.
Okay. And is it all creator wrestler, or are there presets as well?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it just in terms of your avatar, a creator wrestler, or is it a prefab personality, let's say?
So you'll have a prefab personality, but you will have a bit of customization that you'll be able to play with.
Okay, so you do have a actual protagonist, which makes sense if this is being called a JRPG.
Yes.
Like that's one of the more profound differences between the East and the West, let's say. But anyway, so in terms of like how the actual mechanics work, how do those play out? Do you do like a menu?
So there is a menu, and let me just one moment. So we've actually done a couple of different changes in the last couple of weeks. So you will have a menu that you'll be able to go onto, and
Live research. Like
sorry about that. I am like running through my talking points right now.
it's fine. It's fine. It's just this is one of the occupational hazards of doing a live broadcast, even if it is being recorded. So gotta fill the dead air. Anyway.
So you're gonna have massive amounts of equipment. There's gonna be a crafting system as well involved. There's just so much inside of this game that I would need more than the hour that we have to really go deep into it. We do have uploaded recently a Skybound released a developer walkthrough with some of the folks here at Megacat Studios where fans can go in and take a deeper look and have one of the developers actually explain this way better than I am.
Well, I mean, maybe down the line we can do another show just around Wrestle Quest when it's, more ready to be released, let's say. Because I suppose I should ask, what is the current state of development with Wrestle Quest?
So we are still chugging along towards a summer release. Now, this is all tentative. Please do not quote me on this. Do not send me hate mail. We're still scheduled for a summer release. I don't know of any major delays at the moment, so we should be on schedule.
Okay. And what platforms is Wrestle Quest coming to?
So Wrestle Quest is coming out to Steam to begin with. And then I believe that we may be looking at Xbox as well.
Okay. Not the most common of indie selections, but it's there. Anyway, and there is indeed a demo on Steam right now. I have another demo question. I'll wait until we run through the other games here because it's related to Summer Next Fest. I suppose I can ask that now. Are you planning any demos for the upcoming Steam Games Festival?
So I believe so. If I'm not mistaken, we should have Wrestle Quest and World Championship Boxing Manager up on there. Okay. We will know more about that shortly.
Yes, it is pretty close. So my inbox keeps telling me, anyway. And you mentioned World Championship Boxing Manager 2, so that's a good segue into that game. Because this is being built as an official sequel to the first World Championship Boxing Manager, which was a highly regarded boxing simulation game that released back in 1991. So I suppose the question that first comes to mind here is, how closely is this sequel going to follow the original? Because, we're looking at 30 years of history separating the two games.
So this is the official sequel to World Championship Boxing Manager, the original. So it will be quite aligned to the first game, obviously with a modern take, improved graphics, that kind of thing. And we've also have the new fight view, in the fight scenes as well. So it is the spiritual successor to the game.
Okay, that's a bit odd. If it's the official yet spiritual, but anyway, so in this one, are you going to just be simulating the business end of thing, or be able to control the actual boxers?
So you will be able to do both ends of that. Not only will you be recruiting, managing, and training your boxers, but you will also be able to interact during the fight scenes as well. And we also have a story mode with branching paths that add replayability, and encourages players to take the challenges of their own in their own way. That'll include Rocky Marciano and Sugar Ray Robinson.
Oh, officially licensed?
Yes.
Interesting. But yeah, that does highlight a good then and now moment, because, well, for those who might not have experienced those games back in the day, a lot of simulators, a lot of sports simulators were just the business end of things. You didn't really do the actual sport, or if you did, it was very limited. It was more about, managing your costs and things of that nature. So it is amazing what technology expansion can do. And I suppose another question is, if you were a fan of the original World Championship Boxing Manager game, how easy will it be, or will there be an adjustment outside of what you just mentioned in terms of getting into this one?
I feel like this is going to be a pretty easy jump for anybody that is a fan of these kind of simulation games to begin with. There is a very great tutorial system that will help folks from the fandom to jump into the new iteration of the game. So I think it wouldn't be a big jump for people.
Okay. Which is another concern, let's say, about business sims, because they can be daunting, at times, especially if they're going for the more realistic or in-depth, which does beg the question: how deep is WCBM2 here in terms of, what are you tracking in terms of expenses and profits and all those business details?
So, I mean, the in-depth tutorial system, it's perfect for anybody who's, even if you have zero experience with management games, zero experience with boxing, this will take you through every single little feature. And it'll go through everything. You will be able to adjust, not only what your boxer looks like, the type of trainings that they're doing, who they're fighting against, what staff that they'll be getting. You can actually hire on extra staff to help them out, to increase things like stamina, fighting style, that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting how the management and training systems are balanced, and there are so many options, that you'll spend a good amount of time on this game.
I'd imagine so. Because I know the business simulators can skew towards the casual and hyper casual. We've covered some of those on this program, but we've also covered the more in-depth stuff. If you want an example of that, we did a review on Festival Tycoon recently, which was definitely on the deeper end of that scale. So, at any rate, where is this game lying in terms of its development?
So we are full steam ahead at the moment. We have no current delays on it. It is also still looking like a summer or fall release. We are actually starting to come out with some supplemental content that should be coming to a YouTube near you within the next month or so. So we will definitely keep you guys up to date on what's going on with World Championship Boxing Manager. And we will also be at PAX Rising as well. I believe that we will be showing the demo and some gameplay.
Okay. And when is that event?
PAX Rising, if I am not mistaken, is on...
Give her a minute.
One moment. Especially with everything changing up with, the new waves of COVID that are coming out, there is some chances that things will get moved along.
Uh-huh.
And the website does not have a date for me, but that is upcoming this summer.
Well, I mean, I know some people lament the loss at, aren't lamenting the loss at E3, but I kind of miss it, if only because there are so many more events now, and it does get a bit hard to keep track of all of them.
Yeah, at least it made all the stuff go in the same place.
Yeah. Now it's like just all of June is stuffed with video game news. It's got its good and bad points, but it's a lot to keep track of. Yeah. Anyway,
Definitely.
So moving forward, I believe the last game that we have footage of, but not necessarily the last game that that Mega Cat's involved in, but we'll get to that when we get to that, is I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this, but is it Ronnie's Tale?
Ronnie's Tale, yeah.
Okay, Ronnie's Tale. Right, so this is a classic game in the sense that this is a game that is being made for the NES.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Not the first rodeo in terms of what Mega Cat Studios has done on the NES. I do know that. We've highlighted, like, Log Jammers comes to mind. But what's this one? Like, what is the genre? Who are you? Like, what's the goal? All that sort of stuff of this tale.
So Ronnie's Tale is one of my favorite little games that we've come out with recently. We actually did a Kickstarter for it back in 2021. Ronnie's Tale is an action puzzler where you play as Ronnie, who is a wizarding boy who gets himself stuck into a dungeon. So he has to use his magical powers. He has a little ghost friend, and his goal is to escape this dungeon, before he stays trapped and dies there.
Gotta admit, that's something that wasn't explored all that much on the NES. Like, I won't say that puzzle platformers weren't ever a thing on the NES. Like Solomon's Key comes to mind, but it's like definitely less of a thing compared to, well, run and jump platformers, run and guns, that sort of thing. Really, that was more the domain of the Game Boy, now that I think of it. But how long has this game been in development?
So I believe Ronnie started, it's been in development for a while. It came to us at Mega Cat Studios about last year, and we are literally about less than a month out from shipping out the first initial orders to our backers. We actually managed to get all of our stretch goals met, which included porting the game, adding some new levels. And we've also promised our backers a how to do magic tutorial that will be coming out soon as well.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you can speak on this, because this is definitely more of a developmental question, but do you know the difficulties in getting this game to work on the NES?
So that would definitely be something that we'd want to ask the folks over at Kunji Studios. But the team works so hard to be able to get this beautiful, beautiful game onto, the limitations that they had. And that's what's really interesting especially about all of our retro developers, is just the way that they managed to figure these things out and jam pack everything that they're aiming for into this old hardware, but I can't speak directly to what difficulties they might have encountered. All I know is that they pulled it off.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And once again, do you know why they chose the NES of all systems?
From what I remember from the interview that I did with Raphael, who is the lead dev over there, it's, they just had a love for the NES, and, they got it into their head, and that's just what they wanted to make. Yeah.
That's not all that uncommon, honestly, especially on this program. We do have a lot of developers who just say, they wanted to do this game in this space. It's usually Steam, but we've had people who made games on not just the NES, but like the Genesis, other retro consoles, that sort of thing. And is this game going to be only on the NES?
Nope, it is also coming to, if I'm not, let me double check this, but I believe we're also porting it to Switch.
Okay, so it will have a modern platform to play on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just the Switch?
At the moment, just for now. There's a possibility that it might be ported other places depending on initial fan reactions, but that's all that we have planned at the moment.
Okay. And is that being released concurrently, or is the NES version the priority?
So the first priority is going to be getting everything out to our backers, and then it would be the NES. I do not know if it will be concurrently released. The port will be concurrently released, but most likely it will be. I just can't confirm that at this moment.
Fair enough. And will it be digital only on the Switch?
Digital only for now, yes.
Okay. And also in regards to the Switch version, will it be the same game as the NES version, or will it be, let's say, expanded to take advantage of more powerful hardware?
So it will be the same game.
Fair enough. And what's the retail listing on this, if it is, or is it just a Kickstarter backing in terms of the physical?
So at the moment right now, we will have the cart and the Switch keys available on Megacat Studios. I do not have the pricing on the Switch itself or the non-backer pricing. We have not settled on that yet. First, backers are going to get everything first, and then we will release that information.
Fair enough. But it sounds like people will not have to wait too long to hear more news on that.
Not at all, actually. If you guys want to go visit the Kickstarter itself, we do have regular updates coming out, and we should have another one coming out in the next week. We will actually be recapping Kunji Studios being at Festival Retro Games Brazil, where they had an absolutely awesome time meeting up with not only our other dev team that we work with, Manganga team. Those are the folks that were involved with DevWorld 2. And Jam GG. So we'll have a little bit of a recap of, what they did at the convention, as well as information on when the game will be released for the public.
Okay. And let's see. Well, I'll see if my colleagues here have any further questions on the 4 games highlighted, the 3 games in the documentary we highlighted to this point.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think that I've got another pretty good explanation.
All right. Right. So there are some other games, I suppose, that are worth mentioning here. Phantom Gear, Little Medusa, Alpha King. But I do not recall getting any materials for this. So very briefly, what are these games?
So all of these games are currently in development. Phantom Gear, we are suffering some current delays due to the skeletal system. We're still looking at about a month or 2 out. As well as the other ones, there's still no news as of the moment to share. But those are still in the pipeline to be coming out. But yeah, we're really hard at work. We've got a whole bunch of new Kickstarters that are going to be launched over the summer as well. So we've got big things coming up in the next quarter.
Sounds like it. And I suppose the final thing we'll touch upon here are the partner games, because it's not, you don't just do development and publishing of your own games, but you do publish games for other people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what are some of the recent releases from this arm?
So recently, let me see what I can actually talk about, what's actually already out. We've actually done a variety of stuff for partners. We've worked alongside with the Smithsonian. Coffee Crisis was actually a partner game with a coffee shop We recently did a partner game for the Tomorrow War. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. It was an Amazon original with, oh God, Chris Pratt, I want to say.
Didn't see it, so
It's basically a movie where aliens attack, and so they're using time machines to conscript regular people to fight a war in the future.
Okay, sounds like a Tomorrow War. Like I said, I can't really comment. I never saw it, so.
So
yeah,
that's
sounds familiar, but I don't think I've actually seen it.
Well, you guys can catch it on Amazon Prime. It's actually really, really good movie, and so we made a little partner game for that. We also did a game showing here. We did a small little game for Mensa as well. Merging gems, avoiding hazards, that kind of thing. Doing authentic Mensa trivia. And let's see, what else did we just recently come out with? That's about off the top of my head, but we're partnered with a bunch of different folks, and we're always looking for new projects to jump in on. So if you know anybody that's looking to make a game, please send them our way.
I mean, we do know people, but if a publishing gap comes up, we might mention it.
Well, that's appreciated.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's about all we have for this session. But given the sound of things, it sounds like there are definitely more things in the pipeline that are going to be worth talking about down the line, and hopefully, you will join us again when those projects are ready to be talked about.
Would love that.
Okay. Right. So, Mina, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today. Always a pleasure to speak on games and, all that stuff. And to the audience, let's see. So, Wrestle Quest and World Championship Boxing Manager 2 currently have Steam pages, so you can add to your wish list if you want. No release dates or prices available right now. Look for those in the near future. And again, the Rarity box sets, there are 16 of those left. You can pick those up on the Mega Cat Studios website. Or if you just want to watch the movie, it is available on Amazon Prime and other venues. Ronnie's Tale. Currently,
you can actually pre-order it off of Kickstarter if you want to jump in on that. We should be releasing that in about a month, and it'll be available also on the Mega Cat website as well.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, so if you're interested in any of those, go to the respective places we've mentioned, and either buy the product or wish list. So yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Be sure to join us on Sunday for our typical review session. And until then, I shall wish you good gaming.